My name is Matloid, and I am 60 years old. I had always imagined my retirement would feel like a gentle sunset, quiet evenings, warm tea, small talks with my son, laughter of grandchildren in the background. I thought after 4 decades of breaking my back for my family, I had finally earned the right to rest. But life, I learned that morning, does not always end the way you expect. Sometimes it doesn't end at all. Sometimes it throws you out of your own front door. The words still ring in my ears. There's no place for you in this house anymore. They were not spoken by a stranger. They were spoken by my son's wife. The day everything changed. The day I retired, I woke up before the sun. Old habits die hard. For 42 years, I had woken at 5 a.m., packed my lunch in the same faded steel box, and walked to the bus stop with men whose faces had aged alongside mine. That morning, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my hands. They were rough, scarred, and swollen from years of labor in a steel factory. These hands had built machines, fixed broken pipes, lifted my son onto my shoulders when he was small, and wiped my late wife's tears when cancer slowly took her away. I smiled to myself. Finally, I whispered, I can rest now. I walked into the kitchen, expecting maybe a small smile, maybe even a congratulations from my daughter-in-law, Karen. Instead, she didn't even look up from her phone. You're up early, she said flatly. Old habits, I replied gently. It's my last day as a working man. She nodded without emotion. No congratulations, no warmth. I didn't think much of it. People are busy. Life is busy. I had no idea that within a few hours, I would be homeless. You're retired now. You're a burden. That afternoon, my son, Eric, came home from work. He looked tired, avoiding my eyes. Karen called us both into the living room. The children were in their room, the door closed. She folded her arms and said, Now that you're retired, we need to talk. I smiled nervously. About what? Karen sighed loudly. About you living here. My heart skipped. What do you mean? She didn't soften her tone. You don't bring in money anymore. We have kids, bills, a future to think about. We can't support another adult who isn't contributing. I looked at Eric. Son. He stared at the floor. Karen continued. You've been here long enough. It's time you found somewhere else to live. There's no place for you in this house anymore. The room felt smaller. My ears buzzed. I had paid the down payment for this house. I had covered their early mortgage when Eric lost his job. I had babysat their kids for free. I had given them everything I had. And now I was a burden. The walk of shame. That evening, I packed my clothes into an old suitcase. No one offered to help. The children peeked from their doorway, confused. I smiled at them, even though my chest felt like it was being crushed. I stood at the door for a moment, hopping. Just hopping, Eric would say something, anything. Dad, I'm sorry, he murmured, not meeting my eyes. That was all. I stepped outside. The door closed behind me with a soft click that sounded louder than any slam. I stood on the porch, a 60-year-old man with nowhere to go. Sleeping on kindness. For the first few nights, I stayed at a cheap motel. The room smelled of damp carpet and old smoke. I lay awake listening to the hum of the air conditioner, wondering how a life of sacrifice could end like this. When my savings started to run low, I moved to a small shelter run by a church. The people there were kind, but the shame burned inside me. I didn't tell anyone I had a son with a warm house just a few miles away. I found small jobs, cleaning yards, fixing fences, carrying groceries for neighbors. My back hurt. My pride hurt more. At night, I thought about my late wife. She used to say, Matloid, never expect gratitude. Do good because it's right, not because you want something back. I finally understood her words. A quiet rebuilding. Months passed. I saved what little I could and rented a tiny room above a closed-down bakery. It was small, but it was mine. I bought a second-hand chair, a kettle, and a photo frame for my wife's picture. I started volunteering at the community center, helping kids with homework and teaching basic repairs. The kids called me Uncle Matt. For the first time since being kicked out, I felt needed. I wasn't rich. I wasn't comfortable. But I had dignity again. The call. One rainy evening, my phone rang. It was Eric. "Dad," he said, his voice shaking. "Karen left. She took the kids and she drained our account. I lost my job last month. I don't know what to do." There was a long silence between us. Every part of me wanted to say, "There's no place for you in my life anymore." But I remembered the man I wanted to be. "Come over," I said quietly. "We'll figure something out." The reunion. Eric arrived soaked from the rain, eyes red from crying. He looked smaller than I remembered. "I was wrong," he whispered. "I should have stood up for you." I didn't lecture him. I made tea. I handed him a towel. That night, we talked like father and son for the first time in years. About fear, about pride, about how easy it is to forget the people who carried you when you couldn't walk on your own. The moral of my story. Life taught me a hard lesson. Never measure a person's worth by what they can provide financially. One day, we all grow old. One day, we all become slower, weaker, and dependent on kindness. If you forget the people who sacrificed for you, life has a way of reminding you, sometimes painfully. I lost my home, but I found my dignity. I lost my family's respect, but I learned to respect myself. And I learned this truth. A house can throw you out, but your values are the only home no one can take from you.